Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 89, where we will cover Winter's Heart chapters 16 through 19. I am your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my mud-splattered friends, Willie.
Always dirty, not just on the outside, but on the inside as well.
And Jody.
I can't beat that. Hello.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah,
I know.
Those of us who know really well.
Every now and then, between all the bullshit that I spew, I just let slip these like deep cutting truths, and then people will think like, "Oh, that can't be real." It's just like, "Oh, it's Willie doing his normal old thing," but no, that's just the truth.
What is the saying? What the heart is full of, the mouth runneth
Mouth
over, or something?
runneth over.
Is that an Afrikaans thing? Van die hart van vol is loop die mond van
Loop die
oor.
mond van oor. Yes, I think it is. I don't know if it's an English thing. I just know it in Afrikaans.
Maybe
But
I've
then
just
again,
made that up.
there's a lot of things that I only know in Afrikaans. There's just so many sayings in that language. It's non-stop.
It's a great language.
Everything you do is met with a saying.
Yeah. It's a creative language, which is what I miss. Your Spanish is very rigid. You have your way of saying things, and that's it. You know, you can
what
shit
I've
on anything, shit
discovered?
on God, shit on the milk, all of that stuff. But it's,
Shit
you
on
have
the
to
milk.
shit on something. You can't piss on something or step on something.
It's just shit.
know,
No,
it's too limited.
my daughter is constantly asking me about how do you say this in Afrikaans and how do you say this in Afrikaans. And then it's sometimes you get these points. I'm like, okay, well, there's like 5 ways to say this. Because there's
Yes.
5 words for this one English word. So let's
Yeah.
run through them. Reminds me that, we've got
very
a very
descriptive
descriptive
Afrikaans.
language.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Something else I love is the Wheel of Time. Surprise!
Shit, eh?
Yes, specifically
It's a
these
good book.
chapters.
And the ones that come
It's a
after.
very
them.
good book.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also, funnily enough, a lot of the ones that come before also
don't-
quite great.
Uncanny Moritz. It's flabbergasting.
But in saying that, the point I wanted to make during our little preamble here is that my notes are pretty thin for these chapters. Like, a lot of cool, fun things happen, but I felt like it was pretty straightforward. There wasn't an awful lot of...
It wasn't
Build up
it wasn't noteworthy history gathering, like the
No.
rehashing,
foreshadowing
It's just-
or anything
it's
like
just-
that.
Well,
the flow of the current as it's going in a direction at the moment.
listen,
kind of-
Matt, I'm going to spoil my own chapter. So, I mean, Matt meets Tuon, the Empress of the Shornchan. And it's like a major moment, a canon event, if you will.
True, and sort of buddies up with Jain Farstrider.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
like
more
lots of-
exciting than the Tuon, but like there's
Yeah,
not a
but-
lot that happens between him and Tuon at the moment. It's
Yeah,
let's
but
be honest,
because
Caesar,
you know Tuon and you don't like Shornchan, so it's like, ugh, I wish he didn't really. But if you're a new reader, it's like this is a major moment in the story.
But Willie is a Tuon defender.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I'm the one that really dislikes Tuon and
Well,
the
I
Shornchan.
think
Then I
think
redirect
that
everything I say
if
to
it's
you.
an
then,
underdog in the story, I will champion them every day.
Moritz. 2-1, the underdog.
Empress of the entire
Empress,
Shornchan
Empress,
Empire.
Owner of other humans.
Yeah, underdog.
She's just really misunderstood. Like, all that.
She's a Marvel villain.
Well, time will tell, right? And we're going to head into that now. What I did find, this was all sort of... I don't want it to sound like this is a cop-out every time that there isn't loads of foreshadowing and deeper meaning and stuff that we say. It's all set up. But I mean, here we are setting up for the big escape from Ebou Dar. But we're running out of chapters. Like, the farm-adding stuff has to be pretty soon. I mean, there's not a lot of this
So
book left.
I'm
there
in
isn't.
farmadding.
I was quite surprised.
I'm
Oh,
in
you're in
farmadding.
farmadding?
I
So you
read
can't
ahead.
channel?
And it's only, it's like a little... Yeah, I can't channel. It's frustrating. It's like 4 more chapters after these. Within 4 chapters, we're there.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Well, let's turn from our near future to our near past in everyone's favorite section called Callbacks. I've gotten so used to watching you guys just start dancing to no music whenever I say that.
What do you mean there's no music? There is
What do you
music,
mean?
Moritz,
It's in
and
my
you know
head.
it.
Okay, let's start at the tippy top here. Callbacks, bit of a spoiler here. Callbacks are the bulk of my notes this week are related to callbacks, so get comfy. Patrick wrote in suggesting that Saritha's statement about women not being able to be pulled into a circle involuntarily when educating the Seafolk channelers at the Kin's farm right before using the Bowl of the Winds could have been worded to mask the fact that a Terangriel, like the one in Catswain's Paralis net, could actually do that. So I went and I read the words. Remember, Saritha was educating the Windfinders on how to form a circle. Patrick was saying, well, we know of at least one Terangriel that can do it, so maybe she was sort of dancing around that fact. But Saritha's words are, I say again that it is impossible to force a woman into a circle.
Wow. I love how we remember things.
Does she know about the Terangriel?
She might not, but if she doesn't, then it invalidates the assumption from Patrick's side, right? Like it's not because she knows and she's dancing around it. The description of the sleek fish Terangriel from the fandom wiki is, it enables the wearer to pull someone else into an involuntary circle under his or her control, guiding the flows. It works only if the other person has already seized Saidin or embraced Saidar. So maybe there's a little tiny hairline fracture of wiggle room where if you say you can't just pull someone in, you're not qualifying it by saying unless they are already, have embraced Saidin or Saidar.
And the Aes Sedai use their
The
words
Aes
very
Sedais.
specifically. Yeah, Villy's on the same path. Yeah, she wouldn't say impossible. That's too definitive to leave any room. Like they would have danced more.
Saritha is. Yeah, I think she's unaware of that Paralis net or anything like it. Anyway,
Catswain is a tricksy one as well. She keeps her little secrets close at heart.
She sure does. Now, if you guys will recall, I don't know, maybe you remember, maybe you don't, but in the last episode, we covered that three-way water bond that Avienda and Elaine and Min participated in with Rand. And I sort of said, okay, look, this is too much for me to understand. Like when I read it, I sort of got lost in what they were doing. So I went back and I reread it, and it's actually pretty cool. So I'm going to just lay it out step by step here in non-Robert Jordan language so that everyone is on the same page. So the first thing that happens is Elaine and Avienda form a two-woman circle. They link, right? And they talk about how easy it is because they've practiced it. Then what Elaine does is she creates an intricate weave of more than 100 threads, which she places over Avienda and Min. And what this weave does is it simulates what happens to one woman and applies the same effect to the other, like a mirroring weave. She learned this from the wise ones during the adoption ceremony, right? So whatever happens to Avienda from that point on also happens to Min. So if Avienda had to be placed under compulsion, Min would also be under compulsion. So it's like a thing to transfer the
Magic
effect
mirror.
of the weave to another person. Yes, exactly.
That's the
So then Elaine passes control of the circle to Avienda, and while her weave remains in place, Avienda then copies the mirror weave and places it over Elaine and Min as well, so that anything that happens to Elaine also happens to Min. Avienda then returns the control of the circle back to Elaine. So now they've got this like Avienda and Elaine both linked to Min. So whatever happens to either of them happens to Min as well. So now they're set up to have anything happening to any one of them happen to all of them. This is all prepped before the bonding weave is applied to make sure that Min is included. Elaine has apparently studied this from all angles and is confident it will work as she expects. Elaine then takes the weaves connected to each of them already and extends them towards Rand and then twists them together, and from where they meet, she changes that weave into the water bond and places that on Rand, so that when Rand is bonded, it goes to all of them, including Min, even though she can't channel and hasn't channeled any kind of weaves of her own. So that makes sense.
That's
I get
rad.
it now.
Yeah,
very cool.
So they're basically doing the good set of forgery. And
pretty
copy-pasting.
much. Yes. And there's a lot of talk about how the weaves sort of merge into one and like they mirror each other exactly and stuff. So they all get exactly the same. I did think at one point, like, does it mean that Min gets bonded twice because both Avienda and Elaine got bonded? But then I thought, okay, I'm not going to open that Pandora's box of speculation and metaphysics.
Plot twist. They blew up the entire universe, therefore winning the battle against the dark, and that's the end of the books.
End of story. Wow, we've ended this story early many, many times.
Yeah.
All right, then. Jody, you were right. Avienda's children are born with the ability to channel and hold the source at all times. That is the thing that is strange about them. We were right as well that Elaine is 19 years old in Winter's Heart. So at this point, she's 19. The morning after Rand and Elaine's tryst, it's the kin that discover. Remember, Jody, we had some confusion around like how that chapter ended, and you thought maybe we jumped into another chapter when everyone is missing and gone already.
Yeah.
It's the kin that discover that Olivia is gone, and that causes a big scene amongst the kin because, they're sort of guarding her and watching her.
Yeah.
Then Zyda goes to find Nynaeve all angry to continue the lessons for the sea folk, and that's when they discover that both Nynaeve and Lan are gone. And then only later, after lunch, Elaine finds out that some of the more powerful Ungreal are missing and that Nynaeve has left a note among them, which Elaine finds disturbing. So interestingly, we also don't see what's in Nynaeve's note. So Nynaeve has given Elaine a message, but with all the stuff missing, it's really concerning for Elaine. But that's how those things are all uncovered. We were talking about Cadsuane and like what was the penalty that she set the sea folk when she sent them away. She sends them back to their rooms to quote unquote fast and meditate on civility. And if they give Serene a single uncivil word, she's to spank them, but civilly.
Yeah, Cadsuane.
Do you civilly spank someone?
I mean, that's the joke, right? You don't. That's impossible. Then, Vil, you were talking about how Cadsuane has sort of taken over in Kyrian, and I wanted to just double check that because Dobrain was very much left in charge by Rand, and this is something that Cadsuane is sort of thinking on. So she's set up in the palace sun room. So there's a sun room somewhere, not the throne room, like you said. I mean, you had said that it wasn't the throne room.
The ante-room to the throne room.
They don't mention the throne room.
She wasn't
just
quite
a sun
in
room.
the throne room, but she was like as close as she could be.
Well, she wanted a room in which she could take audiences. They don't say where the sunroom is in relation to the throne room, just that she did not want to take the throne room because Dobrain is still in charge and Dobrain is too close to the boy. Well, that's what I just said. Dobrain has not yet made a scene about Cadsuane holding Caroline Damodred and Darlin Cisnera in Lady Arelyn's manor, which, if you'll recall, is the same manor house that Galena and the kidnappers had occupied. But he may start to fuss if she pushed beyond what he thought was proper. And then she thinks he was too close to the boy for her to want to force him and faithful to his oaths. So Dobrain is still very much in charge and not really reporting to her like we had said, but he still has Rand's ear, so she is super frustrated by the fact that she actually can't take charge and just boss Dobrain around. In fact, it says she's so frustrated she wants to bite something. Yeah. All right, moving on from Cadsuane, Tuon and Selucia. Like, Selucia, to me, is an interesting character that I'd never paid any attention to. But on Tuon's 16th birthday, Selucia was given gifts of a small estate, a pardon for the chastisements she had given, and a sack of 100 golden thrones for each time she had to punish Tuon. Tuon remembers how much gold that was and how some of the blood were impressed by the amount, more than most of them could lay hands to themselves. Tuon had been an unruly and headstrong young woman. But importantly, Selucia was given the choice of where she would be appointed next, and instead of choosing a position of power and authority, she chose to remain with Tuon. So, like, she could have picked her position in the Empire and chose to stay with Tuon, which is really cool because all this is important information for how we read about Selucia. You see her character right up front, and I'm impressed. Like, of the Seanchan, she's someone that I can sort of warm to because you can see she's showing some level of loyalty and sort of disregard for power and authority and money and that sort of thing. Plus, she's a secret badass bodyguard.
Villy's favorite Seanchan is Anath. He loves it.
Well, funny you should bring her up, Jody. There was something I forgot to mention in the last episode as well. When Tuon cursed her dead truth speaker Neferi for falling down the stairs and dying, thanks, Semirog, she incurred a terrible Seanchan version of Toe. You know, like cursing the dead is a really, really bad thing to do. It was Anath who applied her penance. So, like, Tuon had to ask Anath for a penance. And when Anath applied it, quote unquote, she was almost tender about it in an odd fashion, though she left her weeping for days, unable to don even a shift. This is Semirog straight up enjoying torturing Tuon, causing her pain, just like she was busted for in the Age of Legends, you know? Tuon even noticed like she was like tender, like, oh, don't worry, and then like causing the pain, and Tuon noticed like it was, even to Tuon, it was odd that she did it.
Yeah.
She is the worst. Jody, the foretelling from Lydia, the Damana, is not in the chapter. It was, you and I had both gone and found it. So first-time readers would not know all the stuff about the fox and the ravens, recognizing Hawking's face, or the man with the red hand stuff. As I said in the last episode, we see how the first of those signs reveal itself to Tuon, and then how her behavior changes, running into Matt everywhere. Like when she checks him out, she notices his ring, and that prophecy explains this like bizarre behavior. When you read it the first time, it's just like, oh, Tuon seems to just be appearing, and Matt thinks it's odd. Maybe it's his luck or something. But she's seen the ring, and she's like, oh. And you know how superstitious she is, right? Like with all her omens and that sort of stuff. So this foretelling is already affecting Tuon's behavior. She's seeking Matt out, and she's accidentally running into him everywhere, which is cool. Just another thing that you can see on a reread that would not stand out to a first-time reader, which is rad. Matt hears about the daughter of the Nine Moons after going through the stone archway in Tyr, not in Ruidian, so it's even earlier. It's the first time he goes through the stone doorway that he hears about her. But I couldn't find a specific reference to individual instances where Matt is asking about, are you the daughter of the Nine Moons? So I couldn't fact check your statement about him stopping after Melindra. But yeah, we know that he did ask a bunch of women.
That's not very pedantic of you to not check all the...
I would literally have to go read every Matt chapter between the stone archway in Tyr and where we are, and I could not do that. Because it's not mentioned in chapter summaries. Or dedication, or lack thereof. How dedicated am I to this podcast? Well, since you want to invoke pedantry, it wasn't a tower that fell on Matt. It was an inn. And actually, a building from the street. I'd always imagined Matt standing in an alleyway, sort of watching the Damane attack. Remember, it's during that attack in Ebou Dar when he's looking for Olver, where the thing falls on him. But he's actually running down the street. Like there's a whole battle going on, and Damane is busy attacking all sorts of troops in Ebou Dar, and he's running down the street. But he is sticking close to the walls, hoping that they don't see him. And while he's running, the ground heaves up, and this wall next to him, off a shop front or an inn or something, is what falls on him and breaks his leg. This was in chapter 39 of book 7. We asked, how long ago did Matt break his leg?
Yes,
ages ago. Yeah.
The thing is, like what I imagine is, in Prometheus, when that spaceship crashes down to the planet and it squashes Juilin, like that is the size of the building that brings Matt down.
And all he did was break some ribs and a leg.
Exactly.
His luck.
Oh, speaking of that scene, that is my pet peeve in movies. They always run away in a straight line from the thing.
Why don't
just
you
run to the side, you idiots.
Or
deserve
up the
to be
stairs
squashed.
in a scary movie. I mean, like, come on.
Okay, Matt tells Alludra that he heard from a Seanchan soldier. We were talking about the chapter houses, right? And like, what was Matt saying to Alludra about the chapter house? And what happened in Kyrian? Who was in the Kyrian one when that exploded? And Tammuz was hunting Alludra down and blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to straighten that out. So Matt's telling Alludra that he heard from a Seanchan soldier while dicing that the guild is no more, that the chapter house in Tanchico had been destroyed when the Seanchan tried to force their way in there. They caused some kind of explosion. And that was the only real chapter house left. The one in Kyrian had long since been abandoned, obviously since the explosion that we read about in the Great Hunt. Matt didn't want to be the one to tell Alludra, but when she makes him tell her, he explains that all the guild members, all the illuminators that weren't killed in that explosion were rounded up and made Duckoval. So the guild is no more. And the chapter house in Kyrian, it was only Rand and Loyal that were there. They were the ones that were running away from Trollocs, and they sort of snuck in there. And when that place exploded, they got away. So Matt wasn't in that one in Kyrian, but he was in Kyrian when it happened. Remember, Matt was using his connection to the Shadow Logoth dagger to try and track down the chest that Peyton Fane had stolen from Rand and Loyal, because he was using the dagger, because the dagger was in the chest with the horn. So he was sort of following that to try and find the horn, but not in the chapter house. All right, I messaged you guys, but for our listeners who have not watched Disenchanted and want to know what voice Willie is associating with Val and Luca, it's Matt Berry, and I agree, it fits perfectly. Just a pompous ass. Matt Berry is one of my favorite actors. Whenever he pops up in anything, it's awesome. And he plays that pig king and would play a Val and Luca to a T.
What was that show you loved him in, where it was like dark and supposed to be scary?
Dark Place.
Dark place.
Garth Marenghi's dark place.
That's
In the IT crowd as well.
so
like
off.
the
Yeah.
boss,
He was he was Mr. Renham.
Venom's Venom,
Yeah.
whatever.
He's in loads of stuff now. Like he was, he had a show with Rich Fulcher from the American guy from Mighty Boosh as well called Snuffbox, which is just absolutely bizarre. Go check that out if you got a chance. Willie, you mentioned briefly that Teslyn has become more serious, and it's because he's cooking up a plan to rebel against the Sean-Chan. He doesn't dig him. He does orchestrate some rebellious activities later, including creating a diversion for Matt to escape Ebou Dar, but he eventually re-swears his oaths to the Sean-Chan and is raised to the blood and rules Altara after his mother's death at the hands of the Gholam. So old Teslyn comes out okay. For some reason, I thought he got killed because of the rebellion and how the Sean-Chan deal with him, and I thought that maybe down the line they would kill him, but the Tuon, is actually nice to him and says he was acting for the good of the people, and then raises him to the blood and makes him king of Altara.
See, the Sean-Chan does have some good traits in between the slavery and all the rest.
We will read in these chapters about the sea folk heads on spikes with the sign under them, rebellion, like they seem to pick and choose when they want to be nice to those who rebel. And then Vil, the last bit of pedantry is that you mentioned the artifacts in Ruidian. Like when I said the Forsaken referred to Ruidian as that cursed place, you're saying, they wouldn't say that if they knew it was full of artifacts. But I'm pretty sure that Moraine loaded all of those artifacts onto Hadnan Kadir's wagons and shipped them off to Cairhien to be taken to the White Tower.
This is true. Some of them. But why did the Kudenkarls stay behind?
Because he hid
Rand
them
took
in,
them.
Yeah, he hid them in Ruidian. In the wall, if I recall. Behind a magic stone.
Yes, when they were sort of all camped out there, he had like a little alcove, like a little niche that he had hidden. And when Nanfear shows up and stuff, she knows that he has them and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's it from me. So let's turn now to our listeners. And first in the queue is Scott Wilson, who sent in an email and a voice note. First, his email. Hi guys, I agree with Mo on the subject of Tuon. Spoilers coming. I love the story arc of Matt courting Tuon, but I always thought that Matt's Taveran nature would win out in the end. That he would win her over and she would learn to channel. Thinking about Matt's children trying to kill each other makes me sick. So much about this arc is not good. I will chime in more later on the subject as we move forward. Don't want to spoil too much of the end for Willie. I've read every book in the series at least half a dozen times except for the last 3. You guys are making this the best read-through since the first. P.S. Congratulations on your new home, Mo. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. What a rad dude. All
Yeah,
these lovely
what a great
people.
message. it's really cool. Everybody that feels like on the fence about sending any message, please do, because it really warms our hearts.
Indeed.
Okay, so what I also wanted to say about Scott's message is even in these chapters we're reading now, I'm reminded how much I dislike Tuon because of how she treats the Damane specifically. Like, Lydia, who she's like, oh, you can have lots of sweets. And she's like, oh, don't worry, I won't get fat. Or the Sildama's like, I'll make her walk. And she's like, don't worry, she'll be fine. It's just like total treatment like of Damane, who up until that point were like high functioning Aes Sedai and like definitely people and not lesser than, but like reduced to being animals. And it's pretty gross. But let's move on from this dark topic and listen to Scott's voice message, which goes a little something like this.
Hi guys, Scott Wilson here. Just finished listening to the last episode. In the favorite moments, honorable mention from Ian, he said that the Dark One needed to control the men. But as I recall, the only one of the Forsaken who actually plotted against the Dark One to overthrow him was Lanfear. So I think that was just a little bit overblown in the whole thing. Because I think that the women, Lanfear, Mogideon, are just as dangerous as the men. So have a great afternoon. Bye.
Okay, so yes, I think Ian's note was more about the role that Grendel was playing in that situation, just sort of like the mental warfare that she was playing with those guys to great effect, but I'll touch on that again in a moment. I just want to say, I think didn't Asmodean also sort of toy with the idea of, if not opposing the Dark One, at least switching sides to save his own skin? Because after Rand balefires Ravin, and Asmodean comes back from the dead, because remember Ravin had killed Matt, Avienda, and Asmodean with those lightning strikes and stuff. And when Rand balefired Ravin, Asmodean, Avienda, and Matt all came back to life. But from that moment onwards, Asmodean can feel the pull of time on him, like the immortality that was granted by the Dark One is gone. And when he reached out to channel just a little bit of Sidene, the little bit that Lanfear's weave obviously allowed him to, he says it felt like drinking sewage. So he had his protection from the taint removed as well. So I think, but it was shortly after that. Like, I mean, I think in the same chapter that he was killed in Camelin.
Yeah, but isn't that why he was killed? The Dark One ordered his death because he could no longer control him.
Maybe, yeah. Because
And
it did seem very direct, and we know it's Grendel, right? So she wasn't meddling in Camelin or anything like that. So she came from Ebou Dar, not Ebou Dar, Aradoman, and like sought him out and came and killed him. So it must have been under instruction. Ian had written about what Rand cleansing the source could mean for the male channelers and how it could actually benefit the female Forsaken, specifically how Grendel was playing mind games with the men to put them off balance. This sort of like, it registered for me and then sort of left my head again, and then it came back when I read it again because I had to go look at it and sort of like really make it sink in so I could explain this to Scott. She was smirking when she remarked that without the protection from the Dark One necessary for the men to channel Sidene, would the Dark One trust the men to be loyal, right? So the Dark One knows he can trust the male Forsaken because without his protection, they'd go insane from channeling with the taint. Now that that they wouldn't need his protection anymore, could the Dark One trust that the male Forsaken would stay loyal to him?
Yeah.
And whether he does or doesn't is irrelevant. What Grendel is doing is she's planting the seed in their heads. The Dark One might not trust you to be loyal. You better watch your back. So she is just planting seeds of doubt in their heads and fucking with Demandred. And it works because you're sitting here going, oh, fuck, she's right. Which is pretty cool. And typical Grendel as well, right? Like, loves fucking with people's heads. All right. Then we've got another voice note from Damien in Phoenix, Arizona. It goes something like this.
Greetings, gentlemen. This is Child of the Light Damien from the Dome of Truth here in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a theory or something that you may have overlooked. In book 1, when Rand's in Tarwin's Gap, he has a conversation with somebody, something along the lines of he's not here or it's not here. Did you miss that? I'm like 100% sure he's having a conversation with the creator. I think he also, in the series, I think in the last book, has another conversation with him. I'm about 60% sure that he's having another conversation with the creator. Just your thoughts and about that. Thanks. Love your podcast. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for that, Damien. I don't know if I can trust someone who identifies with the White Cloaks, but I'll give Damien the benefit of the doubt. He does love the podcast, so he does have some redeeming qualities. I'll put him in the same boat as Trom.
We have a dark friend among us, and that's fine. I think White Cloaks are not that bad in comparison.
True. So in response, it just sounds like Rand is speaking to the creator, right? I can't remember whether we addressed it directly or not. I'd have to go listen to that episode again, and I fear listening to any of our episodes from the early days. I just don't know what it's going to sound like.
From those dark times, yeah.
Yes. First book weirdness and first season of podcast weirdness, both real things. But what I did do is I went and I read up about it to see if anyone has spoken about it. And lo and behold, there are many instances where people have spoken directly to Brandon Sanderson about it. So the passage that Damien referring to is this. A voice reverberates inside Rand's head, speaking in distinctive italicized all caps. And it goes, "It is not here." It was not Rand's thought making his skull vibrate. "I will take no part. Only the chosen one can do what must be done if he will." Where? He did not want to say it, but he could not stop himself. Where? The haze surrounding him parted, leaving a dome of clear, clean air 10 spans high, walled by billowing smoke and dust. Steps rose before him, each standing alone and unsupported, stretching up into the murk that obscured the sun. Not here, in all caps. So, according to Sanderson, while we may speculate, it appears that Robert Jordan intended for us to go insane. There is no answer. So, in a couple of interviews, question number 1, the Dark One seems to be conscious and aware of the events in the world. Is the creator also conscious of world events? And Brandon's response is, and this is paraphrased, Brandon had said that's left up to the reader. He then said that many people think the voice in all caps in the eye of the world is the creator, which might indicate the creator was, but stated it really wasn't known even in world. So it looks like Robert Jordan never released this tidbit of info even to his crew, as in this interview, 1 month after the last book's release, Sanderson changed from Raffo to essentially, I don't know. And a few days later, we get this. Question: did the creator speak in all caps at least once or twice? Brandon's response: the same voice spoke in all caps in the series. Okay, so that makes us assume that the only voice in all caps is the Dark One. Then another question to Brandon. So at the end of the Eye of the World, the all caps voice, will we ever find out who it was or what they were looking for? And Brandon's response is, the all caps voice at the end of the Eye of the World makes an appearance in A Memory of Light. Okay.
Well, that's not clearing things up, Brandon.
No.
Well, maybe the all cap voice is the creator, is the Dark One.
But that's not it. So in A Memory of Light,
If the Silmarillion taught me one thing, is that nothing makes sense. Everything.
I thought you were going to say that it doesn't make a good
confusing.
TV show.
Let's not go there.
So the all caps voice in A Memory of Light says, "It is time, let the task be undertaken." The voice spoke with the inevitability of an earthquake, the words vibrating through him. More than sound in the air, far more, the words spoke as if from one soul to another. Moraine gasped, eyes opening wide. Rand was not surprised. He had heard this voice once before, and he realized that he had been expecting it, hoping for it at least. "Thank you," Rand whispered, then stepped forward into the Dark One's realm, leaving footprints of blood behind. So in a matter of 2 weeks, Brandon Sanderson states that in world we never truly know who the voice was, that the same voice that speaks in caps throughout the whole series, and finally that the voice that spoke in the Eye of the World also appears in A Memory of Light. This leaves us with a completely unclear answer, and unless he or others decide to clarify, we will never know. And then finally, there's a question. Is Nakomi the person that Rand encountered at the mouth of Shal Ghul, and is she the embodiment of the creator? And Brandon's response is, this is one thing that I'm not answering, I'm afraid. RJ wanted some things about the ending to remain ambiguous. Did we ever meet the creator in the series? If so, who? Brandon's response, I'll preface this with a warning. Even though the series is done and I can speak more freely, some things are intended to be vague by RJ's own intention. This allows dreaming and thinking about the world to continue. For example, I can't answer the question 2 for these reasons. For question 1, I think RJ himself was vague. Maybe Etherealander can speak here. This isn't one I'm capable of answering because I don't want to make an answer canon one way or another, as I don't think RJ wanted that. Thanks a lot, Brandon. But thanks a lot, Damien. So please keep those comments and tidbits coming. All right, that's it for callbacks. So we have one little bit of admin to take care of before we can get stuck in, and that is previously on Blood and Ashes. Min has collected Elaine and Aviendo, who head to Nynaeve's apartments to meet with Rand. Elaine orders her guards to stay outside and not let anyone else in. Inside, they find Nynaeve, Lan, and Rand. Rand tries to jump up and see Sardine instinctively, but it leaves him sagging against the table and dry retching. He tries to make some excuses about them leaving, but the 3 women not named Nynaeve make him stay and hear them out. They all declare that they love him, and he has to admit as much to all 3 of them as well. Nynaeve is aghast, and Lan is pointedly not butting in. With the air cleared between them all and all of them in agreement about accepting the situation, Elaine says that there is something else they need to discuss, but won't impose on Lan and Nynaeve anymore. Rand puts on his newly disguise again, and they head to Elaine's apartments. Elaine's bodyguards take some convincing to stay out of the room with this dodgy cat among them, but Elaine makes it clear they are not to be disturbed. Once in private again, the 3 women tell Rand They want to bond him as a warder. Rand pleads with him and reminds them of what this would mean, considering he's destined to suffer and die in the last battle, at least as far as he's concerned. But the women are undeterred. He tells them that Alana beat them to it and how it happened, and makes Elaine fume, but they persist. Rand knows he's not going to win this battle and acquiesces. Elaine and Aviendha work together to create a complex set of weaves that Elaine designed using a combination of the weave she learned from the first sister ceremony with Aviendha and the Wise Ones, plus the water bond, and it is done. The women simultaneously marvel at the love he seems to hold for them all, as well as the incredible amount of pain he is in constantly. Elaine tells Rand there's one more thing they need to take care of. The other two have had sex with him, and she is not to be left out. As Aviendha and Min leave down the hallway, raising the eyebrows of Elaine's guards, who think she is now alone with Newly, they continue to give each other side-eye. They don't know each other well and have been thrust into a pretty complicated situation. They try to use Elaine's trick of masking the water bond, but as Rand and Elaine fall into each other, they realize they can't block out the feelings. Just then, Birgitte comes storming towards Elaine's quarters, but Min and Aviendha convince her not to intervene. Min recognizes Birgitte from Falme, and eventually Aviendha suggests the three of them go get drunk on Usquai to keep these feelings numbed. The next morning, Elaine wakes up and Rand is gone. So is Olivia, Nynaeve, Land, and a collection of powerful Sa'angreal and Tarangreal from the stash from Ebou Dar, with only a hastily scribbled note from Nynaeve that really worries Elaine. We then join Cadsuane, who's taking audiences in the Sun Palace Sunroom. The sea folk are right in her face about various topics relating to their bargain, but notably about Hareen's sister Shalon, who we know is being kept by Cadsuane after being discovered with her lover idol Ryoton. When the Seafolk woman eventually puts her hands on Cadsuane, she loses her patience and has them taken back to their rooms with no food to contemplate civility, and on top of that, threaten them with a spanking if they continue in this fashion. During this, Sorelia and Varen also arrive, who come with news that the last of the captured kidnapper Aes Sedai have sworn fealty to Rand. Cadsuane is very suspicious of this behavior from the Aes Sedai, but can't fathom why it would be happening. Perhaps it's Rand's Tavera nature. Corell arrives to give the news that Dharma Flynn has healed Irgain, one of the stilled sisters in the Aiel camp. Hopwell and Narishma are also around, so Rand's trusted Ashaman are staying with Cadsuane for the time being and seem to be getting along well with the Aes Sedai in their coterie, or in her coterie. Narishma brings the news that Alana has fallen unconscious and can't be revived. Her warder Ivan says she seems fine, but somehow feels afraid to wake up, so they have no choice but to wait for her to do so. We then jump to Demandren's point of view. He's in a meeting with Grandal, Osangar, and Arangar and pondering the absence of Masana. They discuss the threat of Rand being missing and planning on cleansing the taint from Sidene, with Grandal warning the men that the Dark One might not trust their loyalty if they didn't need him to keep them from going insane. Eventually, Moradin waltzes in with Sindane in tow. He has a rat on his shoulder, which he dangles by a tail, then tosses in the air and incinerates when it tries to bite him. The male channelers realize he's using the True Power, a luxury which has now been denied them. Moradin has exclusive use of the True Power since being named Niblis. He tells the assembled Forsaken that Rand has taken the Kut and Kol to cleanse Sidene, and they will all feel it when he tries. Their orders are to find him and kill him, orders from the Niblis. In true Forsaken fashion, Demandred immediately starts plotting how to get rid of Moradin. We then jump to Tuon, who's being addressed by her glorified lady's maid and secret bodyguard Selucia. Tuon is on a ship approaching Ebou Dar, accompanied by her Deathwatch guards, Ogier gardeners, various lords and ladies of the blood, Suldam and Damane. One Damane had a foretelling, and Tuon had reprimanded her in anger, so now she was showing her shame by wearing a veil and not presenting herself in her full social position. Also on the ship is her truth speaker Anath, who we know is Semirag in disguise. Anath tells Tuon to reward High Lady Suroth for her victories, but Tuon already mistrusts her for showing so much ambition. All she knows is she needs to make sure she contacts the Dragon Reborn as soon as possible so he can kneel to the Crystal Throne as foretold in the Sean-Chan prophecies. She also reveals her position as the heir to her mother's throne, the daughter of the Nine Moons. Finally, we swap to Matt, who's trying to coax the secrets of gunpowder from the Illuminator Alludra. When she keeps the secrets of the guild to herself, Matt reluctantly tells her he heard a rumor the guild is no more, with the last chapter house in Tanchico destroyed and the captured Illuminators made duck oval. When she presses Matt about what he would do with fireworks anyway, he tells her how they might be weaponized. Alludra sets Matt a riddle. If he can tell her why she needs a bell founder, she'll canoodle him. Matt leaves to find Thom and Beslin, who are talking to Val and Luca, where Alludra has joined his menagerie. Luca has been spared entering his horses into the lottery for supply to the army in recognition of his sheltering a Sean-Chan Seredet trainer. Olver is also there and surrounded by women, as usual. Valen leaves to prepare for a private show for Suroth, and Thom reports to Matt that Luca will take them with him when he leaves, but at a very high price. Even then, Luca's only leaving in the spring, but at least that gives Matt time to collect the money. Beslin warns him that his mother won't like Matt escaping, and Matt ponders Tylan's possessiveness. As they head back to the palace, the dice start rolling in his head. Something very bad is coming his way. Coming our way now is Chapter 16, called An Unexpected Encounter. Vil, what can we expect to encounter in Chapter 16?
Something unexpected. quite obviously by the title, we are still carrying on exactly where I left off a fortnight ago, with Matt now on the move with young Olver and Thom and Teslyn from Val and Luca's menagerie. And they're heading their way through what I assume is the road that's heading to the palace, but goes via the docks. And those dice that was rattling in his head, they still rattling, not falling, still doing its thing. Now they find their way to the docks, and then, to Matt's surprise, there's a heck of a lot of commotion on the go. There's people being offloaded, and it's like the Irish in New York City back in the day, like
A vomit
piling
of
off.
Sean Chan.
Yeah, a vomit, a real like, uh, and they all ooze and ahs about the strange new world that they've come to. But it's animals and goats and donkeys and shredders and other weirder things. The whole lot of them's there. Um, in between this, Matt catches glimpses or little overhearings between Thom and Teslyn, and Thom saying, "Oh, that's a risky business." Obviously, Teslyn, as you alluded to earlier on, starting his rebellion planning over there. As always, Matt notices the horses, good mares, good. There's always a little bit of a horse moment when it comes to Matt. Now, these people didn't just bring their livestock; they brought their brewing equipment with them. This is a full on. This is a settlement colony. It's one of those spaceships in the Alien
One-way
verse.
ticket.
One-way ticket. They all there. Anyway, but the harbor is filled up to the brim, and Matt can only think that, okay, there's more ships incoming. Why are they here? Is his questions running through his head? Um, how many? Like, is there more soldiers? But anyway, um, Matt tells Thom and Teslyn to move on, take Olver, so that he can get his boob resting time and reading lessons done with the Lady Roselle. And he's going to go on and scout away. Now, Matt is reminded not to get into any more fights, because Thailand won't like that. He got reprimanded the last time he came back from a little bar encounter. But anyway, Matt goes off, and a lot of inner monologue with him as he's now moving through the city. He's constantly thinking, okay, what does Alludra want a Bell founder for? Trying to work out this puzzle that she set him. And then also thinking about what Thailand has done to him. She's like confiscated all of his clothes and hid it. And he's only allowed to wear what she has presented him with, which in some cases is just pink garments, but we'll get that. A cubby hole is what Matt is looking for. He's trying to find a spot. Now, do you know what a cubby hole is?
Yes, it's
I mean,
where
I think
Rand
so.
kept the Kuden call.
Yeah, well, when I grew up, a cubbyhole is where you know that little compartment where in your car where you've got chuck the toilet paper and the wet wipes. That's a
Your glove
cubbyhole,
box.
glove
Yeah.
box. And I used the word here the other day, and people were like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Anyway,
A cubby hole, yeah.
obviously there's a different meaning for cubbyhole, but anyway, Matt is on the lookout for a cubbyhole to stash his run kit. Like he's going to run, and it's taking him to strange places. So he darts down an alleyway and decides, okay, cool, time. Okay, let's just get back home. Now, these alleyways is described now as Matt's little secret arteries between Ebou Dar. Very narrow. Some of them join up to another three, so you've got to understand and know your way around it. But it is in these alleyways where a slender, nondescript man he finds himself after slipping and falling and into the mud. But sort of,
We hope it's mud.
we're not sure.
Yeah.
Later on, we definitely
It's at
know
least
it's not mud
partially
that he
mud.
steps in. Partially mud. Let's just say the majority of it is mud at this stage.
Yes, mostly mud.
And when he tries to get up, he's got the boot of this man on his shoulders, pressing him down. And he realized that it's the golem who's back and after him. So Matt uses his walking stick as a staff or a spear to throw at him, but with little or no effect. But he remembers his last sizzling encounter with this beast and whips off the medallion, and that becomes his means of fighting the golem. And there's hissing and there's the smell of burning flesh as the golem dodges it, and when it touches him, there's more hissing and searing. But Matt doesn't stop, and he's now like, this thing's gonna kill him. He's got to get something on him. But he then hears sort of in the background, it's like a man shouting, "Ah, they went down this way," and they get uh, interrupted. And the golem then decides like, okay, cool, and actually has a little chat with him and says like, oh cool,
Yeah.
I'll have to do this a little bit later, type of thing, but you are on his list and he wants you as much as he wants her. And Matt's obviously me, who wants me and who is her. But he decides Gholam, this is, to make haste and down there, and Matt wants to sit after it. But he finds a little hole in the brick wall, literally a brick-sized hole, and does a horror movie move and disappears into it. Like
That's a Morded.
chest, arms, Morded, like weird. Anyway, the golem's gone, but Matt is not the only person that saw this, because the person that not intruded on there, helped him with his presence, old mate, what was his name now? Noel, Jain Farstrider, I'll just add in, saw all of this as well, and he's like, ooh, I've seen many things, but I haven't seen that before. And Matt says, yeah, no, last time I saw that was in Shadow Logoth. And he's like, ooh, that's a place you don't hear about often at all. Anyway, Matt realizes that he's got this guy who needs a little bit of a place to stay, and, well, drags him along. Matt picks up another straggler, and that's the end of that chapter.
Yeah, Matt runs after the golem, like, not knowing why, other than it had tried to kill him. Like, this unkillable thing, like, he's chasing it. It tried to kill me, so I want to get it. Doesn't know how, but goes after it.
He knows how. Just take the medallion and put it in its mouth. That will
Put
fry
it in its
brain.
mouth. Open wide.
Open
There
wide,
you go.
Mr.
Comes
Golem.
the aeroplane.
Eat it.
Well, you know what's terrifying is these things are sentient, eloquent beings. They're not mindless killing machines. Like, you can do all this and you're intelligent. Oh dear.
But acting under orders. So who's the he? He wants you dead as much as he wants her.
I'm
I'm gonna pretty much say that this
Moradin?
must be Moradin.
Well, he
He
was
was up
sent
right
by
ahead.
Samael. Remember, he was sent by Samael to Caradon.
Yes.
Mm.
So I think
So-
Moradin just took over when somebody dies, he gets their shit. Like, that's just goes to neighborless, you know.
It's like
but
a
it
will
is him
gets
because we
passed
know
on. It's just magic. It's like, oh, report to him
gotta
now.
be him.
That guy's dead. It's like levels of succession.
Maybe. And I mean, so who's the her then? Like, because the golem's mission was, you know, like, they wanted to kidnap Elaine, or Caradon was supposed to, and kill Matt. And
Yeah.
now, has Moradin just given the same orders? I don't know.
No, that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Maybe
also
the
interesting-
golem is rogue now.
Well, no, he's talking in this chapter. Like, he's saying, he's talking about his orders. In fact, he also says, I was ordered to not be seen, or like to remain unseen. So when Knowles or Jain Farstrider's little ruse about like more people coming, it runs away because it's supposed to be not seen, which is weird because who's going to do
was
shit
just
to it?
seen.
What are they going to do? Lock it up in a prison? Is it going to slide through the bars and rip everyone's throats out and drink their blood?
Yes,
Oh, it's a
Marts,
bit
thank
weird.
you. Yeah, it can't be. It must be a different he. But what he?
Interesting.
Oh, yes.
I mean, is it worth doing this sort of timelining? Like, is Samael dead yet?
Well,
at
it's not
this
worth
point?
doing it right now.
No. What I'm asking is it worth me doing in the next 2 weeks?
That's totally up to you, man.
I'm gonna ask our
We
listeners.
are catching up with Matt.
Give our
but
listeners
we don't
homework.
know how much time.
Watch those
has
numbers drop.
passed. We don't know how much time has passed with Matt healing.
We don't.
6 weeks.
No.
So we don't know how it ties in with Rand's doings and when he killed Samael. So yeah, maybe the Gholam still thinks he's under valid orders from a dead man.
Maybe. And also, like, how often was Samael checking in with the Golem? You know, like, if he'd set the Golem a task, he probably leaves it until it's done.
Yeah, but maybe that's how golems work. Like, once you give them orders, they won't stop. Like a Terminator.
Is it when it finishes a task, does it just disappear back into the box?
I don't know if it would willingly do that. Who knows? What I do like about the Golem is, like, how much the Forsaken fear them. And I think only a couple were made. And then the Forsaken realized, like, hang on, these things are made to kill channelers. And we are channelers. So maybe let's not make any more of these.
Yep. That's a wise decision.
Matt comments on the black and red armor of the Death Watch guards, but he's mistaken. It's actually so dark green, it's often mistaken for black. I'm surprised that Matt is one of the ones that makes the mistake of thinking it's black.
Like the
because I
sofas
to
we
think
used
of
to
him as
have
super sharp.
downstairs. You ever been
Sure.
downstairs? Willie? You've been in my house
In Jeffreys Bay?
Beach. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Those downstairs sofas where I was always like black sofas my whole life. My mom was like, no man, they're
Yeah,
green.
but you're colorblind.
Well, yeah, but they were super, super dark green.
Yeah.
I remember them as very green. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Back me up, man.
Poor Nestedin Reyes, now the dead mistress of the ships, and also her dead husband, Baroque. Both impaled for rebellion, the very thing that Beslin is plotting. Wow. So the heads that Matt sees on the stakes, this Nestedin Reyes is the one that negotiated the bargain with Nynaeve and Elaine and the seasick Avienda, who noticed that, remember, like when Baroque walks past, Avienda goes, maybe she was wrong. Maybe those windfinders weren't the most dangerous people in the cabin. Maybe it was this guy who, you know, like the older gentleman who moved with the grace of a killer, you know, like that was Nestedin Reyes' husband, who is now also dead.
Yeah, is it their heads on the spike specifically? Because in my chapter it says they mentioned those two who died on the stake, which made me think burnt on the stake. So
Not
those
burnt.
burnt heads. on the spike.
They were impaled,
and
then decapitated, and their heads were put on.
Gross, man.
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty vicious.
But they were impaled without making a sound.
Yes.
They never broke. Yes, that's hardcore.
Hard people.
Stubborn. Perhaps.
I had a good laugh at Matt, who's like, he swore the oaths to await the return and everything, because the consequence of not swearing the oath is punishment. So it doesn't mean anything. So to him, the oath doesn't mean shit. So he's like, I'll swear that oath as many times as I want. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't hold to it at all. The dice that he's hearing in his head are the loudest yet. He's never heard them ring this loudly, which is interesting. And yeah, that's it from me. Let's get to more Matt.
Yes, so much Matt.
It's so good, hey? All right, more Matt in chapter 17 called Pink Ribbons. Can you tie a ribbon around this one for us, please, Jody?
I don't want to tie these ribbons around where they're supposed to be tied.
Even this chapter title made my skin crawl.
I don't want to touch those ribbons, man.
No.
So Matt and Noel, we're with them still. They're making a beeline back to the palace with those dice rattling like crazy in his head. Matt is freaking out, thinking the golem will squeeze through the cracks between the paving stones beneath his feet to get him. He's on edge, man. And why wouldn't you be? So Matt leads Noel to the stables around the back because, he'll be able to sneak in there first and get cleaned up before his his Thailand catches him. She doesn't like it when he comes home all muddy, which is apparently something that he does often enough for it to be a thing with her. And that's like, of course it is. It's a total Matt coming in with cloths, with his coats all ripped and dirty and coated in mud. So even this Ebou Dar guard, the captain of the guards there, mentions he should get cleaned up before Thailand sees him. And he's like, fucking everybody knows. And everybody's having the greatest time. So he's just asked this fellow, if it's okay for Noel to have a bed with his men, And of course there's no problem. It's really just a custom. He's just being polite. Noel is surprised that Matt and his lady wife live in the palace. He's like, my lady wife. Well, you might as well be, Matt. So he's interrupted talking to his Ebou Dar guard when the Sean-Chan soldiers arrive, and they approach the Ebou Dar first, not the Sean-Chan. They go straight to the locals and as to state their intentions and ask permission to enter. And of course, the Ebou Dar officer mentions, he still finds that strange that they ask them, they don't ask their other buddies. And Noel is like, and what if you say no? What do they do then? Which is not what he wants to hear, Captain of the Guards. His reasoning is, I gave my oath to the Queen, and she gave her oath, wherever. That's got nothing to do with me. So I just do what she tells me. Noel should keep his mouth shut around here. And this captain tells Matt just as much. Keep your new friend in check. And Matt has to explain to Noel, like, these Sean-Chan have people called listeners around that you never know who they are. And then these seekers as well. Sounds like a game of Quidditch. That you should watch out for them. Because they're even worse. So yeah, we read about a seeker later, but not in these chapters.
Yeah.
He's back.
Same one we read about
The
before,
way that the Sean-Chan operate in terms of their structures of control remind you of the KGB, like in communist Russia.
Very much.
The Gestapo.
I wouldn't say Gestapo, but more definitely KGB style of the party, the Communist Party, and their cronies and listeners, and you never know. You always under surveillance type of thing.
That's what the Gestapo did.
Yeah, but I think the KGB were doing it longer. Like, if you're going to choose an example, they've really got it. This is real KGB stuff.
Righto.
But yes, you're not wrong, Martz. Gestapo. Where were we? So yes, seekers, listeners, those people, watch out. Noel, keep your mouth shut. So like Noel's like impressed with Matt, like, who are you, dude? Like, everyone knows you. Your lady wife and you live in the palace. So he's like, do you even know this High Lady Suroth personally? And Matt's like, no, bro. I don't think she knows I'm alive. Not for long. And I'm more of like a hanging in taverns with the soldiers kind of guy. So and that made me think. It's like, I remember the last time we saw Noel, or who we thought was Noel, he was outside Bors's and Millie Skank's place, remember? Mm-hmm. So he was investigating them or watching them. So he's still, is he still on a mission? He's still after Lady Suroth. He knows that she's a dark friend. And he wants information on her.
Did he mention Suroth last time?
I don't think he mentioned her last time, but he was in front of...
just dark friends. Yeah.
He's just against dark friends, he's hunting them.
Probably. I mean, he was manipulated by the Forsaken, right? Like, he was put under compulsion and stuff. So he's got an axe to grind with the Dark One and the Dark Friends.
Yeah, and he's noticed Matt, and he followed Matt and rescued him, saved his life or whatever. Now he's trying to get close in, He's sneaky, this old guy. You gotta watch out for him.
Wily.
He's a wily old fox. So Matt also notices some Suldam exercising their damane in the stable's courtyard. They're just walking around in circles, like animals. A lot of them are sea folk, windfinders. And they've got some Sean-Chan-born damane comforting them. Like, each one's got a Sean-Chan-born damane with them, whispering words of encouragement into the air, like, it's not so bad being a slave. It'll be good.
Gross.
Trying to
you
break
get sweets.
You get sweets. I actually wrote the word
Sweeties
right.
and walkies.
Yeah, so that is happening. And then he sees another Damane that is not Seanchan or Athanmere, and it's old Teslyn Baradon. She came from the tower, if you recall. There was some bumping into them in hallways in earlier books. She's been captive for about 6 weeks already. This is where the timeline comes from. That's when the Seanchan attacked.
Ah, 6 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
There we go.
So that's how long Matt has been healing up, which is what I said in the last podcast, didn't I? I was like, I remember people breaking their legs, having casts on for 6 weeks. Wow, spot on. I'm amazing.
And so humble.
That's probably my best feature. He is meekly, and she is meekly obeying her Suldam. But when she passes Matt, he sees a little flash of hatred in her eyes, like something behind there, like, ooh, you're not 100% broken. Like she's just going through the motions. But she's not fully broken yet. Matt mutters that it's better than death, he supposes, when he sees her and thinks about her fate. And Noel overhears him and he's like, are you sure? Matt's not sure. Perhaps it is not better than death. So they enter the Red Arms barracks to find Vannon reading. Matt's like, I didn't even know he could read. But anyway, there he is. They see the state of him and are ready to go find the guys. I love this is a good scene where he's like, no, I got in a fight, and like others jump out of their beds, start putting on their coats, like, where are they? Let's go find them. And he's just like, no, guys, calm down. We really it's all been sorted out. This foe is beyond you. Matt tells them that Noel, this is Noel, by the way, he saved my life and he'll be joining us. And there is much rejoicing and backslapping. Like, hey! Noel tells them the story of what happened with elaborate gestures and embellishing the details, almost as if he's told stories before, one would think. He seems to be good at it. But anyway, everyone loves Noel immediately. He is cool. And after the tale, Matt tells them the hard, unembellished truth that the Gholam has a hard on for him and won't stop. I was like, I can't figure out what these words say, but I wrote them anyway. Yes. So, and he's like, listen, and the thing is going to go through you to get to me. No one is safe. You can leave. No worries. I'll give you like gold coins to sort you out. And all of them are just like confused. What? Leave, Lord Matt? Are you insane? That'll never happen. So they ain't going nowhere. Noel is just watching all this, and he's impressed with their loyalty to Matt. And he's like, Matt, I've seen men like you before. Your name will go down in the history books. And Matt's like, no, I'm not keen on that. You have to die for your names to be in the history books. Let's hold off on that history books. I'm no bloody hero. I said that line this morning to my wife. So he leaves to get cleaned up before Thailand finds him. So he's even passing like all these servants in the hallways who offer to run him a bath. Like, oh, before she
They
sees
all
you.
know.
Everyone knows. Everyone's like, dude, let's come here. Let's get you cleaned up. He also runs into a little old Juilin, who we haven't seen or heard of in ages. Julin's still around.
He's up to mischief, that guy.
He is up to
another
no
little
good.
something.
Because he shouldn't be up here. He's supposed to be down in the lower realms with the servants. He's going to get into trouble, and I think already has. He too refuses to leave and says he has reason to stay. Matt offers him the same deal. That is, like the Golem's after me. Take the gold and run. And he's like, no, I have a reason to stay now. Matt like, it's a woman, isn't it? You can take her with you, like immediately. Touchy subject for old Juilin. He's not a kiss and tell kind of man. So he gets upset about it and stalks off, and over his shoulder tells Matt loudly that he heard that the Queen will switch him next time if he comes home dirty again. And that is it for Matt. Matt has had enough of this bullshit. He is not the butt of this joke any longer, and he heads straight for Thailand's apartments and smashes the doors down. I pictured Jack Donaghy in kicking open his office doors. Kapar! Episode 1. There he is. Throws his hat across the room. This is a great entrance. Kicks open the doors, takes off his hat. He's ready to give her a piece of his mind. Throws his hat and notices that she's not alone in the room. And his hat kind of just like hits the ground and rolls away into a corner.
Nothing cool.
No. And he stops dead in his tracks. in the room, he finds Teslyn, who is not alone, as I said. With her is Suroth, Tuon, and Anath, or Semirog, as she is better known. And it's not the crowded room that makes him stop dead in his tracks, but rather that the dice have come to a thundering stop, and he is not dead. So he's very confused. What happened? What happened right now? So the entire time, the rest of this chapter, he is just standing there, just running over in his head, like, what happened? Looking around, going, who is here?
Where's the
what caused
Forsaken
these
that's
things?
going to attack me?
He's like,
Right
standing
in
right
front of you.
his line is like, he was expecting a Forsaken to jump out of the fireplace or something, jump out of the hearth and kill him. It's like, no, she's not jumping. She's standing right there. So he wasn't quite listening with this all going, because the women started speaking, and Teslyn was telling him, it's like, she doesn't have time for him now. He must go wait in the kitchens, basically with a pepper steak pie and a steri stumpy. And Matt's not interested, and running. He's just running the scenario through his head to figure out why the dice have stopped, like, constantly. Tuon gets up, and she is displeased with Suroth. She's just looking for a reason to fuck with Suroth, and I love her for it. She's like, this man has clearly been attacked in the streets, and you told me the streets were safe. And I'm like, yeah, go Tuon. Suroth gives her reassurances that the city is safe, and that makes Matt snap out of his pondering a little bit, and she sounds anxious. And he's like, wait a second, Suroth is anxious around this little bald girl? What is going on? So that brought him out of his reverie. Tuon is still displeased with Suroth and making her sweat. She has done well here, but there are things that need work. And that attack to the east fighting Rand's forces was a bad idea. And now Suroth is squirming. It's getting worse and worse for her. And she looks at Teslyn as if it's her fault. Tylen's like, and then Matt realizes, oh shit, I'm probably going to pay for that later on. So he says, he's like, well, ladies, don't freak out. I wasn't attacked in the street. I just fell down and I hurt myself. And all the heads whip around and look at him like, how dare you speak?
That's Matt.
It's Matt. He tries to give them, and then he looks at them and they're all looking at him meanly. And he's like, he adds, my ladies, at the end of it, which didn't help anything. Semirog breaks the silence by taking Tuon's wine cup from her hand and then throwing it across the room into the fireplace and calling her a fool. I'm like thinking, this is Semirog's dream job. Like, she's not in disguise because she is naturally dark-skinned, like a lot of Sean Chan are. She looks the part, and her job is literally being herself.
Yes.
It's like, wow.
To shit on
brilliant.
Tuon and cause her pain.
Do whatever you want. Snatch your wine glass out of her hand and throw it across the room. Yeah, and I mean, it's freaking everyone else out. Like, Suroth is like, oh my god, what's going on? You can't speak to her like that. So even Suroth is shocked that Anath would speak to Tuon like that. But Tuon replies meekly that, all right, you may be right. Maybe that, this could happen to anyone, those failures in the battlefield and stuff. But it's clear that Matt is lying. And was indeed intact. His story is like, but yeah, this is your guy's fault. I was trapped under a wall. And she's like, all right, no, wait, you fought. Well, you would have fought to save yourself anyway. So Tuon gets up to inspect Matt closer. She likes the cut of his jib, apparently. And he flinches at her touch but from one glare from Teslyn is enough to let him know that he should allow
Wild
this.
horse.
Yeah. So she's like stroking his chin and like turning his head and like, lifting his lapels and stuff and walking around him and inspecting him. And her inspection reaches his hand where she pauses on his signet ring. There we go. That running fox and two ravens in flight. She's like, fox, ravens. This is ringing bells. Anath tells her to leave Matt alone and to get to bed or to buy him. Like... Is he for sale? She actually asked Teslyn, how much is he? And Matt's like, oh, hey, hang on a sale. Hang on a sale. It's easy now. He doesn't know what Teslyn's going to do. But Teslyn's like, no, Matt is a free man and he is not for sale. He's like, well, thank you very much. I am not for sale. So Tuon's like, whatever. Immediately forgets about him and walks over to Teslyn to kiss her on each eye and once on the mouth. I was like, this is the second time we've had kisses on eyes, haven't we, in this book? I do recall...
Yeah. Oh, it was
Talon War.
yes, kissing more guests.
So yeah, eye kissing is back, everybody. And once on the mouth, and they are now sisters, she says, with Suroth too. So it's like, wait, what? I wasn't consulted. Tuon will write Tylan's name as one of the blood in whatever book you need to write it in, the blood book. She's now the High Lady Tylan and Queen of Altara. And, everybody's taken aback by these actions as well, except, of course, for Anath or Semirag, whose loud snort of derision ruins the moment. So that Tuon, she's like, oh, can we go now, please? It's this really beautiful, serious moment of raising Tylan to the blood. Let's go. So Tuon asks Tylan to join. He says, okay, I'll go, but I'm going to take Tylan with me. We're going to look at some maps if you come to my quarters, and I'll show you all the lands that I have, designed for you, or designated for you, sorry. So you'll have your kingdom back, and you'll be a high lady, and blah, 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 blah. So while they're still rising and smoothing their dresses, Matt makes a point of mentioning that. He also pulls Tylan aside to tell her about the Gholam attack. He's like, listen, I didn't just roll around in the mud again, or I wasn't in a tavern fight. This is a Gholam after me. And he tells her that it would be best for him if he left the city, get him out of here. But Tylan will not let the Gholam or Tuon, giving her a little glare, have him. Matt belongs to her. Matt asks Tylan, so who is this Tuon person? And Tylan's like, dude, I know as much as you. She's the High Lady. She's very mysterious. Suroth is terrified of her. But Anath is apparently the worst of them all. But I swear to God, she looks like I think she's a servant. I can't figure it out. So he's like, all right, cool. Never mind then. So before leaving, she reminds him of the pink ribbons. And when she comes back, it will be playtime with these pink ribbons. From what Matt remembers, he'd be giddy with these pink ribbons. It's not something he despises. He kind of looks forward to it. But whatever it is, we'll leave it to them in private. After they leave, he collapses into the chair to try and figure out why the dice have stopped again. He's sitting there in that chair, and he sits there without an answer until Tylan returns. And she had not forgotten about the pink ribbons. So we will close the doors and leave them alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's that.
Sure. Villain? Anything stick out for you there?
I mean, it's not really exciting stuff. He goes into a room, sees people having a tea party.
It's significant,
berating
the
each other.
dice stopped
it's
rolling.
Significant, but not it's not the
It's not rad.
or the the coin drop. This is the daughter of the 9 moons.
I've had that, yeah.
Yeah, there's none of that there yet. So he's still sussing
Yeah, not
out
for
this.
him, yeah.
But I mean, the dice stopping to rattle there could be taken up for the fact that there's a Forsaken there, and probably more so that, I think. But yeah, I mean,
You think so? You think that the dice are because of the Forsaken?
Maybe.
It's definitely because of Tuon. Yes.
I think yes, but maybe not. I mean, she's
It's
not
like
a
the
danger
thing
to
that
him.
the Finns told him about. It's the stuff that Lydia had a foretelling about.
Yeah, but
It is
his dice is about life-threatening events.
I don't think it's always life-threatening. It's just meaningful events.
Oh, okay.
Life-changing, that's for sure.
I think Matt
Could be a
thinks
threat.
that it is. He makes the comment I'm not dead, but they've stopped. I think Matt thinks it's life-threatening stuff, but this event, as conveyed by RJ to us, the reader, is very much Matt has met Tuon. I mean,
I concur.
that is my opinion, and Jody's apparently. What else? Beggars were being put to work by the Sean Chan. Sorry, old Cully.
Sorry, not sorry.
Billy. Yeah, sorry, your friend is being put to work there. I had a good laugh at Vannon again. I mean, Vannon is just such good quality. With a few startling exceptions, Elaine, Vannon thought himself the equal of any lord or lady. He doesn't call Matt Lord Matt or anything. He's just like very nonchalant about not showing any kind of deference. And I love the fact how Vannon also keeps up the facade of being a farrier, and he uses that excuse, like, or the excuse that he can do more reading with Matt than he would as a farrier. So, like, even though Matt knows he's a poacher and a horse thief, he's like, but as a farrier, I wouldn't be able to read this much. I'll just stay with you. Like, he still keeps up that story, which is hilarious. Also, typical Matt. None of you have to worry about anything as long as you don't get between it and me. Like, it just wants me. Just do not walk through that line of fire. Do not cross between myself and the Gholam. Which is good advice. Juilin, real sly dog. Hey, so here he's already hooking up with Amathera, right?
Yeah.
Who's a Dako Val. Suroth's slave.
Yeah.
So he's
Maybe
just like
Amathera.
sneaking into the slave quarters and having. I mean, how did this come about?
I don't know. I don't know how it started.
In a previous episode, I'd gone back to see like if there's any mention of Juilin sort of interacting with Amathera when they were in Tanchico, like when she was the Panarch, like that. All that stuff was going down, and they had to like sneak Amathera out of the palace when there were riots and stuff. Remember, they had her in that inn. And then she posed as a serving maid just called Thera, like whoever the innkeeper was of that inn was sort of keeping her in disguise or hidden. But there's no mention of any interaction between Juilin and her. So I'm wondering if later when we read about, because she goes with them when they join Vanaluka's menagerie and they escape and stuff,
Like,
she's with them
now.
So maybe more details are forthcoming about how they hooked up at that point. But at this stage, I don't know. But yeah, he's rolling the dice. Like, he's taking a real gamble, especially after having been caught once. Then my last note is that Matt notices that Anath doesn't have the same accent as the rest of the short chat.
Yeah. I noticed that too.
Okay, well, that's it for me, Vil. If you don't have anything else, then we can move on to your next chapter, which is chapter 18, called An Offer. What can you offer us along the lines of a summary?
A very meager summary, to be very honest with you, because it's just it's one of those chapters that's like, and a couple of days passed, and it's been a few days since the Gholam attack, and there's rumors of wolves outside the city had disemboweled and drank the blood of a man. How rumors go. But Matt knows that it's old mate Gholam. He's still around. He's still feeding off the blood of people. So Gholam is refusing to leave, and Matt is very scared of that, but I would be too. Everyone has been carrying on with their things. Rizal asked specifically what's Olver's age, which prompted me to thinking like, okay, why does she want to know that? What has Olver been selling her?
Yeah, he's probably just been lying about his age. That's why she's asking.
The 10-year-old boy that she's reminded about. But there's still a lot of things on the go. Thom and Teslyn is still doing something under the sly. There's still discussion. Juilin has now been caught and striped by Suroth, but still walking around in the wrong places all the time. So many people has been coming into the city from the boats. It's like docking central. It's beasts, and some of the beasts are so vicious they get offloaded outside the city at a different dock. The Shredded and Trollm and Grolm and what is the other one? Shredded is the elephant. Coralm and all the lot of them. Matt notices that there's a lot of soldiers moving, and he's at the point where he can't really keep count of it. But it would also appear that a lot of them are veterans. That's kind of like now retiring and making home in new lands. What he did pick up is that there's 500 men from the Death Watch Guard in the city doing now sort of policing, and they're suppressing everything much. And to go with that, also 100 Ogier soldiers, not the Ogiers that's going to do the planting and growing and building, but
ironically, the Ogier soldiers are called Ogier gardeners.
Gardeners, yes. What has sort of quelled is the internal feuds of the Randland people of Ebou Dar. They all just like in a silent truce at the moment, cool, we got this new overlord. So there's still underlying currents of disagreement, but no one's doing anything about it. There's a new sheriff in town that's kind of keeping the law. Of course, with people coming in and all of that, there's always the rumors of Brandon. We run through the many rumors of he's bent the knee, the this and the that, and he's dead, and he's there, and he's this, and he's that. But the Seanchan is very aware of these rumors and seem very sort of perplexed about like the Rand idea to them is still a very big uncertainty. So Matt has burned all his pink stuff. He didn't enjoy his pink session with ribbons to tie around things, and he was after that.
Or maybe he did and he's disappointed in himself for liking it.
Maybe he's questioning his own kinks now. Like, I didn't like that. No, I didn't. But he has been given not just pink ribbons. I mean, there's a pink suit and a pink coat and a pink. And he burned all of it, like in protest. And then he opened the window and it's like, no, he doesn't care that they smell it. Like, he's getting his green and blues, like with frill and lace and all the rest. And he's still on the hunt for his cubbyhole, so off he ducks. He's got a new route today. Now, Valen Luca is still there as an out, but that might be a period of time for that to go. So he needs to find something else, and that sends him all the way back to where we were once was the Wandering Woman and Satel a nun. So he pulls in there. Now, the inn is not quite the same since the Seanchan pulled in because it's now an officer hub. It's kind of like when you walk into the bar in any Allo episode and
yes, yeah, it's on the Mulhara. It's right across the square from the palace. Like it's right there.
So
like a lot of important people are
high ranking folk is all in there. But she's recognizes him and he is stoked that she does and has chat and asks after her health and all of the rest. And she just quite blatantly, just like straight up, like, how's Nynaeve and Elaine? And did the king get out? And he's like, whoa. And it's like, no, she's just stoked that they weren't collared. And he's like, whoa, watch for the collaring and the words and the talking and the voice. But he's kind of like, okay, look, I need a little space. And she's like, yeah, I've got your little hole still available, a literal cubby hole in the floor where you can stash your coin, and there's an empty rack in the storeroom. You can pile up some clothes and that. And with that agreement, he's very stoked. But still a nun tells him, and he wants to know what the payment is for that. And she's like, I like your fine breeches and your fine coat. Don't you want to do a little twirl for me? So he has to do a little twirl and get ogled up and down. And then she tells him about the role of a pet, a precious little pretty. And it's but he says, what Thailand is doing is not quite right because a pet should have the freedom to go if they want. Anyway, she's taking it a little bit too far. And apparently Matt doesn't need to pay anything because getting a little bit of eye candy for Satel was enough for her to give him the cubbyhole for free. Anyway, Matt now has his free storage all sorted and he's starting to plan his escape. He goes back to the Tarzan Palace. He tells old Nerim and Lopen about this plan and what they need to start doing. And apparently his clothes has now got mold on it because it's been just like stuffed. So Thailand had taken all his clothes and stuffed it in with Beslin's toys in the old toy cupboard. But Nerim and Lopen are now, trying to one-up each other in manservanting. And apparently they really looked like they went past Teslyn looking like they're running a race that she was inquiring after when she walked in there. But then Matt gets distracted by sex with Thailand again before he can move on to his next task of finding a bell founder. He's really onto this bell founder, but he eventually has found a bell founder, a very busy man, who is now being commissioned by the Blood to cast 12 bells for some celebratory bell ringing of their victory and all the rest. And he's quizzing the man about the illuminators, and this dude's like, "Look, man, I don't have time for fireworks. I'm a bell maker and I'm the best," and what. He's too busy to, and Matt can't figure out this link between a bell founder and yet, I should say. But he's very hard at work from it. He has also, in these days, managed to wheedle his way into kisses with Alludra. Let it be said, only kisses at this stage. She's way too sharp for him. She's keeping him, you know, just a little tease, nothing else. Thailand, with her acceptance into the book now, is started painting fingernails in the fashion, and she's talking about shaving her hair in the fashion of that. So slowly starting to adopt the Shanshan ways. And she is also taking her last, I suppose, realizing that her pretty is trying to escape, taking a lot of time with him. That has now happened during the middle of the day, not just evenings in the palace anymore. It's now
Afternoon
just like
delight.
stabbing afternoon delight, stabbing her marriage knife into the headboard, to the point where even the servants now laugh, because when he ever sees a smiling servant, he knows, like, oh shit. And they're like, oh, the marriage knife is in the headboard. Time for you to go. The whole country knows about this.
The whole country is.
Everyone. It's the hot gossip. There's no one that doesn't know. But when she's not busy with him, she's very involved at the moment with Surath and Tuon, and doing all their little things, which gives Matt ample time to get his movements going, slowly ferreting fold. Now everyone is staying. Old mate Vannon is still there. He's very much involved. If he's not spitting on the ground through his teeth, he's helping out with all of the rest there. Matt started realizing that Tuon is not that young. She's just like couple of years younger than him. And she troubles him. She seems to be there every time when it's unexpected. And the one day Thailand just ducked, so he thought, okay, quickly sneak back into the room to get more more stuff away. And she was there inspecting his Ashandare. And she then said,
Tuon
"Oh
was,
no, yeah, Tuon was." And she was like, "Okay, how much did you pay for this? This is a very unique thing." And he's like, she'll give him 10 times. And he's like, whoa, I don't want that 10 times over. Look, I paid for it very dearly. Some could say with my life. But
Paid too much.
pay too much, way too much.
And that Ashandare has ravens on it as well, right?
It does have ravens on it.
Gonna
No
be the
foxes,
Prince of
though.
Ravens.
Anyway, those encounters have become more and more throughout the palace corridors. Every now and then, she's like, "Whoa, what are you doing here?" Type of thing.
To an uncanny extent, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's like a
we're
lot.
starting to make him nervous. It's like when you like open a cupboard and then you close the cupboard and the face is right over there.
Yes,
To
yes,
that
exactly like
extent. No Gholam action other than the ripping of throats and outside the wolves rumor, but Matt feels pretty okay about that. And so far his plan is working pretty good. He's very stoked with himself. So he's squirreling his bounty, and his men are in on the trick. The only one that he just cannot get anything around is Oliver, sucked into Rozelle's chest. Thom is doing something which he cannot figure out. So
With
is
Rozelle's
Juilin, but
chest.
he's 100% sure that it's to do with a woman, and all the rest of his men are with him in this squirreling episode. And that's pretty much the end of that chapter.
Yeah.
Squirrels. Yes.
Joseph, anything you want to add in there?
No. I had a good ride there. It was nice. Information delivered succinctly.
There's a mention at the beginning of Altaran soldiers with the red crisscrossed on the armor. Are those the ones where we read about before, the ones that can't be trusted yet? Like they're sort of like expendable ones?
Red shirt
possibly.
shoulders.
Pretty much.
Red shirt shoulders. Yes.
You try to say
Red
that
shirt,
fast.
shorts and shoulders. That's
Jeez.
say that one 10 times fast. Or just once.
Also, a bunch of rumors here, and the classic RJ thing of one of those
Yeah.
rumors being true that Rand was kidnapped, but also rumors about some armies in Tyr, Mirundi, Aradoman, Andor, and Amadisia. Okay, so which is the army in Tyr? Is that Darlin's?
Is that Rand's? Yeah.
Darlin's.
Rand's in Tyr.
Isn't it? Because he marched all those men down to Tyr, remember? To attack Samael. And you don't just
In
have
that
an
was in
army.
Ilian.
Ah, sorry.
No, the Tyr, isn't that the rebellion outside?
I think that's
Must be.
Darlin
Okay.
Cisneros'
Darlin Cisneros.
rebellion. Yeah,
Men all. It wasn't a big army, but there's a gathering there.
Mirundi.
White Cloaks?
Isn't that where those armies were? The band of the Red Hand?
Yes,
They were meeting
that's-
there on the border.
I thought it was the band, yes, and being conscripted into King.
Yes.
Is it Rodrin? Like his army. He was.
Yeah,
Oh
King
gosh,
somebody,
yeah. The king of Mirundi, because he doesn't have actually
Yeah.
he doesn't have any actual military power, so he was trying to
Yeah.
get the band to be an army for him. I think that's who that is. Aradoman.
That must be the movement of the people from Saldea. No, that
No,
army.
No, they're
they're
already in
down
Bram Wood.
Andor.
They're in Andor.
Because the
Those
last
are the armies
armies
in
in Aradoman was, the Clash and Tome, and said you had the White Cloaks there. That was the company will
They-
advance at a
But
trot.
they were absolutely destroyed.
Demolished.
This could be Rodel Iturralde,
Hmm?
because he's leading a rebellion there. Remember, Grandel was sending letters to Iturralde
Yeah.
with the dead king's cousin or something, pretending to be orders from the king,
Yes.
and
yeah.
messages to Rodel. And later, I think Kerry had written in or sent in a voice note about reading about him later in the story. He is sitting thinking, like, these orders from the king are fucking weird. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And I think it's the army there are like his army that eventually makes its way south to Tarabon to fight the Short Jan. It could be him.
Where are
Yeah.
all the borderlanders? There's a force of
Bram
borderlanders as-
Wood.
Braamwood.
In Andor. Because remember, Elaine has just heard from, she heard from Dylan just before they were attacked by Doylan Mellar's sort of 3 would-be assassins. Dylan told Elaine about that army in that wood, and she's thinking how she's going to use that army to secure the throne. So that's I think, the army in Andor. Because they mention here one of the armies that are rumored is in Andor. If it's not them, it could be the nobles that are sort of arranging themselves. Aramilla, arranging herself against Elaine, sort of bringing those forces together after those 2 other nobles that she quote unquote liberated from
Yeah.
the town. The names of the nobles and the town all escape me now, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. I mean, there's no shortage of armies that could be.
The nobles are Nayan and someone else. An army in Amadisia. Piran.
Oh, shitballs.
Mm-hmm.
Abila, where Perrin has just
Yeah.
moved from, and where the girls got kidnapped by the Shido, that's in Amadisia. So none of those are Egwene's army. So maybe Mirundi could be the band and Egwene and the rebel Aes Sedai at this point.
Yeah.
Before they, because it's now 6 weeks after the attack, and that's when the Ball of the Winds was used. And by the time Egwene takes the Salad or the rebel Aes Sedai to Tarvalon, it's snowing, right? Like it's full winter. So maybe the Mirundi army is not just the band, but also the rebel Aes Sedai.
You notice there's a distinct lack of other than this chapter saying that it's grey in the sky, but Ebou Dar doesn't seem to be smashed with snow.
No,
No,
but
it's
it
not,
doesn't
but
snow down there.
It doesn't snow down there. They get those what are those storms called, Jody? You did the chapter recall where they Kamados or some Komodo dragons.
Komodo dragon storms. Sure.
Oh
those
god,
ones.
there's a callback for me, but it's like a hectic, just super hardcore winds and rain and that sort of stuff, and that's as bad as it gets there.
Cape Town storms. Cape Doctor. That's what it's called.
Did you guys just remember or have to look up what a Darsoldam is?
I didn't look it up, but I thought it was like someone who trains Sultan or is in charge of them.
It's someone who's in charge of a group of Sultan.
Yeah. No, I just figured.
Some retained memory from a previous read.
That's it.
Matt's getting frustrated about his attentions not having the effect that he'd hoped for, so Alludra is still keeping, tight-lipped about her secrets. Matt also thinks about Thailand seeming to be befriending Tuon, but not Suroth. Nobody could be friends with Suroth.
No.
Does not like a good read, Matt. It's 100% true. And was there a mention of Anath in here, or is it Matt just thinking about Anath?
Yeah, he was just thinking about her, like, whoa, she
Right.
seems to be heavy on Tuon. Like,
Yes.
not really understanding her role in the sense of she's a servant, but she's not. Like, yeah.
Yeah. There's also some my note is specifically that Anath shocks even Suroth, but Suroth must not know who she is because Anath is shocking Suroth. But remember, they both, one is a Forsaken and one is a Dark Friend, but Suroth must not know that Anath is Semirhage because she's trying to get Tuon to punish Anath. So she's blissfully unaware that one of her other bosses is standing right in front of her. She's trying to plot against her.
Very KGB-like.
Very KGB-like.
Nothing at all like the Gestapo.
Nothing. Polar opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from you, Jody?
No.
No. Well, in that case, warm up the old vocal cords for chapter 19 called 3 Women. Jody, who do be these 3 women?
I don't know who they are. Oh, no, wait, I'm lying. I wrote it down. Hang on.
Billy, earlier when you said Teslyn's name, do you know who the Australian comedian Judith Lucy is?
Mm-mm.
I imagine Teslyn looking like Judith Lucy. Go Google her, and that's what I think she looks like.
On my phone.
All right. Okay. 3 women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Matt is back at the Wandering Woman. There are no Suldam and Damane this time in the common room, which is always a good thing. There are, however, cards and piles of gold on the tables. But Matt resists. His luck has never been really in with the cards. He's more of a dice man. He's a man of the people, Mistress Anan is also not there, but her daughter Mara is, and Matt tries to charm her with his best roguish smile, but she's having none of it. He's really there to go see his stash, remember? And so he's got to wait around for Mistress Anan. So while Matt is chatting Mara up, we hear her talking to serving maids, and we discover that Air Captain Juilin is there, and his cup is not full. It needs filling. He's a busy boy later in the books. Remember, we've heard about Juilin.
He's the guy that takes over from the leg spinner or the off spinner, Keshav Mirage.
Yes.
When he dies in that attack, Juilin is the one that takes over.
There's a couple of guys. We read about another dude who also took over from another dude that died. But yeah, there's lots of dying and lots of taking over. So we learned that later, as I went and found out about this guy a little bit. He is the one sent to hunt Roland, whatever.
Rodell?
Rodell. He's sent to hunt Rodell because he obviously does become a problem then. He is in charge of attacking the White Tower when the Seanchan attack.
Oh, wow.
And he is there fighting in the last battle under compulsion. He's one of those people that gets compelled to make stupid decisions.
Really?
Current status, alive. So he's sticking around. Mara is too busy for Matt. She's not going to fall for his shit. She's not a Matt fan. So he says, well, like, I'm going to head to the kitchens and I'll just wait for some food in there. So we know he's also wanting to get into the kitchen to go have a look at that stone under the floor where his stuff is there. But anyway, he's just going to hang out there and pretend like he's killing some time. Enid is there, the head cook. You might remember her, the roundest woman Matt has ever seen. And she is super stoked to see him. She is a huge fan of the Matt. But also just to, give him a little bit of shit because she's also heard about him in Thailand, as the whole country has. And thinks it's just fucking peachy. She's told him he had squeezed the wrong melon one day, and man, was she right. She's got a big I told you so rip.
And then she feeds him some flounder.
Yes. So he's sick of this shit. He decides, listen, maybe I should just get out of here, go visit Alludra, get me some of those kisses, those hard-fought kisses. But Enid's got food for him, yes. She's like, listen, someone out there that's already ordered can wait. You're going to have this fish. You say it's a flounder. I thought it was a sole. Whatever. A fish
Flounder,
with...
sole, same thing. Some people call it a halibut.
They're all members of the flatfish family. They're not the same thing, but they are related.
Yes.
One of those
flatfish families.
Look up on the one side. Same.
Yeah.
The only thing that
Matt
differs
is
is how
loving
big
it.
they are.
Regardless, I mean, we've all had some sole. It is a very nice tasting fish. So Matt is very happy to have it for breakfast. But he's getting very used to lots of Ebou Dar things, apparently. Like eating fish for breakfast. Just as he finishes said fish, Mistress Anan returns with a hooded guest. Matt catches a glimpse of that ageless face beneath that hood and almost falls over while making his bow to Mistress Anan. Satel. I'm going to call her Satel because me and her go way back. There's, a lot of confidence there. Is glad to see him. She was going to call for him anyway. So before she carries on to tell him why she was going to do that, she clears out the kitchen so they can talk privately. Like, everybody out, and they're complaining that it's raining outside and the fish is going to burn. But she shoos everyone out into the rain, by the way, like into the stables at the back, just standing out in the rain the entire time. Just remember that all those cooks are now outside in the rain while all of this is happening. And Enid, except for Enid, she takes up a guard position in the common room outside the kitchen door with her big wooden spoon. Under the hood, it's our old friend Joline, Maza. She was in the palace before the Seanchan attack with Teslyn. Remember all that, just refreshing people's memories. She's from Elida. She's not one of the rebels. We'll soon talk about Teslyn as well. Joline seems to be doing well. She's flinging her cloak back and smiling at Matt. She's all Aes Sedai confidence and authority until there's a commotion outside and loud Seanchan voices arguing with Enid. Enid can only hold back the Seanchan for so long. Matt thinks quick, and he grabs Joline in his arms, falls onto a bench, puts her on his lap, and starts making out with her. And not a moment too soon, as the door to the kitchen opens up, and in comes Captain of the Green, Lady Edgy Annie, Tamarath, and old mate Bale.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Edgy Annie and mate. Now he's her Sojin. He's not very good at it. Right? That's brought to our attention multiple times with POVs from the Lady Aegianan in future chapters. But they are there. They are there in the name of the Lady Suroth herself to claim Satel's best rooms. Satel tells them that, unfortunately, they are occupied by Juilin. We just spoke about him. And the second best rooms are by someone else we know. It's Banner General Furik Karidi. A.k.a. Stabby Throat on the Horseman. You remember him. Yes, he's there too. Everyone's retreated back to Ebou Dar and is having just the time of their lives. I thought they would be punished, but apparently failure of that degree is acceptable in the Empire.
Well, Suroth is ultimately accountable.
Well, she will be accounted for soon as well. So, tough shit, no rooms for you, Satel tells them basically. She is not in the business of throwing people out of the rooms they have paid for. And she doesn't know if, Banner General is higher or lower than a Captain of the Green. So she's like, listen, if you want the rooms, you guys can sort it out amongst yourselves. And then you just let me know who's staying where and how the payment is going to be provided. That's all. So you figure it out and then you're welcome to stay. So after Egian and Bale leave, Matt tries to remove Joline from his lap, but she is too terrified to let go. And so much for that Aes Sedai composure she had earlier. She is crying, she is shivering, she is burying her head in his neck and chest and grabbing onto him. Mistress Anan tells Enid to count to 50 and then bring everyone in out of that rain, still there in the rain, and orders Matt to bring Joline down to the cellar with her. She's still clinging to him, so carry her if you must. So down the stairs into darkness they go. Matt asks old Satel if she helps Aes Sedai often. It seems like you know what you're doing. I was like, oh, buddy, you've no idea. Yeah. But she plays it down, of course. No, she just noticed that an Aes Sedai needed help, a lady needed help, and she helped her. At the back of the cellar, Matt finally manages to break free of Joline and put her down. Satel tells him like her nerve is broken. Like she and her warders have been on high alert for weeks, evading the Shawnchan patrols, and like the last couple of days, they've been on the move constantly, and it's taken her toll on her as it would on anyone. She is
6 weeks.
Not 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Hardcore times have been had. Without thinking, as is Matt's way, he tells her that he'll help her if he can. He's seen what happened to her companion Teslyn. We saw her earlier in the courtyard, and Joline is lucky that she didn't end up like her. And this sets Joline off. She's like, lucky? You son of a bitch. It was not luck. Teslyn gave her Forkroot to hide her from the Shawnchan and then got caught herself. So Matt's like, oh, Forkroot is just prevalent everywhere now. Everyone's got Forkroot. We're not even going to go into how they got Forkroot. But anyway, Matt feels compelled to help her as he is in debt to her. Because there was a note, if you recall, that we pondered over for some time in previous episodes. The note that she gave him to warn Elaine and Nynaeve about Elida and to get them out of Ebou Dar because they were in danger. He notices, however, her confusion and then adds a little caveat. Remember the note that you left on my pillow? We know it was slipped into his pocket in the hallway. But she dismisses the statement with a very Aes Sedai, all debts are settled if you help me escape reply. And he's like, so it wasn't you that left the note. Bugger, now I've just promised to help somebody I don't have a debt to. Damn it. So anyway, too late, you've made the offer. So he makes his goodbyes and heads back to the palace. He's got to go see the person who really put that note in his pocket. He happens to know where she is. So he heads up to the attic of the palace where the Damane are kept in their, I hesitate to use the word, kennels. Yeah. So Matt walks down the row of doors, opening each one to check who's inside. A lot of sea folk windfinders, in various states of distress and stages of grief and fear. But yeah, lots of sea folk were taken in that attack. And finally he finds Teslyn's quarters. So he's like, you put a note in my coat pocket. Didn't you? She tells him that she just wanted to fuck with Elida, basically. I needed to distract Elida. It wasn't really because I care about you guys, really. But I don't like Elida, and she is obsessed with Elaine and Nynaeve, or especially Elaine, and she will do anything to get them. And I was just going to fuck with her, make sure, because I don't agree with what she is or what she stands for. I'm just going to mess with her. So now Matt has towed towards her, basically, and tells her he will try to help her escape too. He's like, well, basically it's in for a penny, in for a pound. She's got a list of reasons why this rescue won't work, but Matt says, hey, look, I'll figure it out. And then Teslyn realizes, wait, you're serious about escaping. You're not just here to, fuck with me and taunt me. So now she starts getting her hopes up. She's starting to break. She tells him, like, listen, man, I need to get out of here soon because they are with us, while they're training me and I do well. They give me a little sweet. Like, I find myself looking forward to that sweet and looking forward to pleasing my Suldam. And that's freaking me out, man. I need to leave now. So she tells Matt they also need to take someone else, by the way. The third woman of this chapter title. It's Edicina Azadin with them. They need to. She's a yellow, if I recall correctly. And you must be careful because there are other Aes Sedai collared right here, right now, but they have already broken and they will rat us out if we include them. Yeah. So this is the short list. One of them is the one that's on what's her name's boat? On Tuon's boat. Mylan? Mylan? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, I also thought Mylan.
Yeah. So that's one. We know she's broken 100%. So don't mention anything to those guys. Just the three of us.
Mylan went on a hunger strike, if that is her name, in
Yes.
Tanchico, where she was captured, or Falme, where she was captured. We read about that back in the day. And then was shipped all the way to Seanchan.
Mm-hmm.
And was like emaciated because she stopped eating, and Tuon bought her in Seanchan and like sort of nursed her back to health and sort of showed her kindness and sort of got her back, and then shipped her all the way back to Ebou Dar. So she's been across the Aryth Ocean twice.
Yeah. She's been on a little trip.
But yeah, she's well and truly broken.
Yeah. So let's just keep it to the short list. It's Joline, it's Teslyn, and it's this Edicina. All right, that's it. Matt's trying to explain to her that, look, this plan, idea, / whatever they spur of the moment thing
Scheme.
was originally just to get Joline out. Like, you put your foot in it there. Now it's Teslyn too, and we got to add this Edicina. It's too many. But she's already decided he's doing it. Like, she's still got that isodyness about her. That hasn't broken. Like, all right, you've decided, it's good. We all agree you are rescuing us and getting us out of here. That's that. And she kicks him out before he gets busted, because men are not allowed up there, by the way. Speak of the devil, on his way down the hall, who does he bump into? His little friend Tuon. He makes up some story. She's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, no, listen, I just came to look for an old windfinder friend of mine, but she's not here. Maybe she escaped or whatever. And Tuon is smiling at him the whole time. She thinks it's great that he cares about Damane, and warns him, though, to be careful that he isn't labeled a pervert. And I thought, too late. If people think he's up there trying to have sex with Damane, because to her that is the most disgusting thing you could ever dream of, and that is have relations with a woman. Well, Tuon then ignores him, as she is wont to do, and walks off, and he heads off making plans in his head. He's good at battle plans, but prison breaks are not his thing. He'll need a schemer. He just happens to know a couple of those, so he goes off in search of Thom and Juilin with a little ominous tune playing in his head, and no dice rolling yet. That's that.
Pregnant pause.
Okay.
Have I stunned you into silence with my recapping?
No, I just want to make sure you don't want to like cap it off with anything before saying
Ta-da! Jazz hands. There you go.
Do you
to our
think,
listeners, Jody is really doing jazz hands.
do you think Tuon is disgusted by the notion or the thought that some men go and frequent the kennels because it is a woman that is pegged onto and they can't retreat, or because it's a property and an animal?
I think the
The
latter.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She likens
And
it
then
to
Matt-
bestiality.
Yes.
Matt also thinks like, which have sex with a Damane? Like, what kind of a man would have sex to a woman on a collar? I was like, whoa, Matt, you have no idea, buddy. Innocent
Some
little
people
farm
are very
boy.
into that.
Yeah.
He should have those kinds of memories from his past.
Oh, he should. He should.
Well, he
But
was just collared with pink ribbons, so I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That is
Giggity,
true.
giggity.
But I think he could be very much meaning like these specific types of collars as well.
yes.
Yeah.
Like, these women are trapped by them, and not because it's their kink.
Yeah, no.
What else do we have here, Vil? Is there anything? Do you want to talk about sole and flounders and halibut?
Oh no, it's
I know the animals are your thing.
they weird fish. They're like two eyes on one side. I don't know, but they taste good. I'll eat them.
Will you eat the eyes? Because Matt's like, he's not going to get that Ebou Dar custom.
No,
He's still not keen on the eyes.
it takes a little bit of people to eat fish eyes.
My
It's,
dad does.
Yeah, old people tend to do things like that.
They do crazy shit.
It's-
Yes.
My dad always used to chew his painkillers. Like, he'd take like 2 aspirin and then chew them, the pills and powder. And
Such a
then,
badass.
like, wow, gross, man.
We like pulling faces, swallowing them whole. Matt so when he sees Bale and Ejiani, something tugs at his memory, but he can't remember what.
Yeah, because his memories are all fucked up. He doesn't remember that.
Yes.
specific.
Especially his current
there
life memories.
Where was it with the girls? He was there, right?
With Tanchiko, no, I don't think he
Tanchiko.
was.
No,
But
last
he
time
was on the
saw
spray
Bale
with Bale Domon was fleeing Shadow Logloth.
Yeah,
with Rand.
Yeah.
and Thom learning to play the flute and juggle and all their little adventure
all
down
the way
river.
back in the eye of the world.
Yeah.
I was sort of hoping Domon would recognize him as well, and I wonder if he says something maybe in a later chapter.
Spoilers, he does.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Matt
good.
is pivotal to his plan later on.
Okay.
Yeah. Your question is answered in the next, I think, the 3 chapters more of Morris. Just keep reading.
Okay.
Raffo. Like, I can guarantee you it's a Raffo situation.
Okay. What else did I have here? Kyra, the one maid, is also still pissed off with Matt. Remember, she was the one that was pissed off with him because Begita was waiting for him in his room at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah? Oh, she holds a grudge, eh?
He was trying to hook up. She's still holding a grudge. Probably why Satal's daughter is also not interested in Matt, because Kyra's talking about him and not in a glowing way either.
But apparently, because it's mentioned there in the chapter as well, that she still remembers when he killed 2 men in the inn. Because they tried to get to his chest or something, and when he came into his room, and she doesn't like him for that. And he was like, but they were bad guys that deserved to die.
Yes. Your dad helped us get rid of the bodies.
Yeah.
Satal's husband rocked up there and was like, oh yeah, okay.
I'll take care of it from here. The cleaners are here.
Nah, he's like, yeah, we got pigs for that. That's why you're always wary of a pig farmer.
Pigs with Matt Berry's voice.
Be especially wary of those.
Typical Matt can't even bring himself to say to Satal that she should just leave a sister with the Sean Chan. Like, he knows the Aes Sedai are under threat from the Sean Chan, and he feels compelled to help them. Like, he can't even, the words can't even come out to say, just leave her, just forget about it. Because he knows it's the right thing to do. I enjoyed the trick that he played on Joline, like using the fake out, like, oh, I remember the note on my pillow. Pretty sharp. And then the last one I had was Teslyn says to Matt that she would do anything. She would even go against, and then she stops herself, but then she pushes on, and she basically implies, she might even say it outright, that she would even go against the tower. Like, she would do anything, whether the tower approves of it or not, if Matt helps her get out of here. Which is pretty powerful coming from an Aes Sedai who, fair enough, is slightly disillusioned with Elida. You remember she and Teslyn and Joline were both sort of like, fucking Elida. I mean, Teslyn, wasn't she the one that was a sitter and then demoted and sent to Ebou Dar and stuff? Like, Elida really treated the two of them
I
like
got
shit.
this throwaway task to go and do to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of questions around this whole legitimate race to power, illegitimate.
And they stick around with Matt for a while, right? Because they in the menagerie as well.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got 3 loyal Aes Sedai because he rescued them.
Eventually, Teslyn, when she
varying
returns
degrees.
to the tower, I think she writes him a letter to say thank you for everything you did. I think that was another contribution from Kerry or something. Okay, well, if that's it, did you guys remember to pick your favorite moments?
Yeah, with a little bit of creativity.
With a little help from your friends.
Jody looking very sure this time. Yes, very
Confidence.
much. Confident. I picked it. All right, Joe, let's lean on that confidence. What was your favorite moment?
It was when Matt comes back to it's Matt. When Matt comes back to the Red Arms place to introduce Noel, and he tells them that he got jumped. They all see he got jumped, and they'll all jump up ready to go out and like have his back. That was it. That was the moment.
It's so great. And that Noel like recognizes, these guys are super loyal to you, and that doesn't happen without a reason, so yeah. Your name will go down in the history books or something. Yeah. How about you, Vil?
Mine is a one-liner, but it leads the mind to really think about what the fuck happened there. And that is the Lady Rizal asking how old Olver is.
Yes.
It's like,
And then being
what
after-
the
she was
fuck have you
thoughtful
been
afterwards.
doing, Olver? Like, what have you been trying to do to prompt this question from this
Yes.
this Tom-aged lady that's teaching you to read?
I don't know that she's Tom aged.
No.
Well, Tom has been visiting her with a harp.
That
So,
means nothing.
No.
Oh, okay, true.
And apparently Teslyn has, like, everyone knows that
Oh.
Rizal asks you to do something for you to get the privilege of laying on that bosom.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not a Tom age lady, Bill. I think
No.
she's...
No, I
during
was
that festival,
mistaken
she
there.
also had like a particularly revealing outfit on the Festival of the Birds or whatever it was.
Yeah. Oh, did we see her there? I'm going to go back and read.
Yes. Well, I think someone else makes a comment about her her outfit. My favorite moment is also Matt related, but it is much more general. I think it's the polar opposite of Vil. Vil, you focused in on specifically a sentence. For me, it was more generally Matt's behavior and specifically how he just cannot help himself to step in and be the hero. It is just so classic. He never said the words, "I'm no bloody hero" or anything, but he sort of alluded to them in here. And then now he's putting his neck on the line for, the one woman, Joline, he thought he owed a debt to, and then realized that he didn't. He was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. But then he sneaks into the Damane quarters to go speak to Teslyn and find out about this, because he's not supposed to be there. He'll get in trouble for being in there. Already risking his neck just to have the conversation with her, and then agrees to help her, and then just agrees out of hand to help this third woman as well. Typical
honorary
Matt.
mention. Being
yes.
Matt chapters, it kind of like does play into it, but he threw a little bone for our podcast in there as well, name dropping us. He had a blood and ashes in there. So we had a little bit of free
promo.
free
It's out
promo.
there in millions of books. Anyone could read our
All
name of
over
our
the show.
podcast. Nice one. All right. Well, to our listeners, send us your favorite moments, the bits and pieces we missed or just plain forgot. You got theories? We want to hear them no matter how crazy. You can send them to us via X @bloodandashpod or go to bloodandashespodcast.com to leave us a text or voice message, the latter of which we can splice into the show like we did for Damien and Scott today. Links to all the useful things in the episode description, and just scroll down there and start clicking wildly. Also, please rate the podcast on your favorite podcast app, and immediately after you've done that, you can start getting ready for next time on Blood and Ashes, where we will cover chapters 20 through 23. 4 more chapters, and they are titled, chapter 20 is Questions of Treason, chapter 21, A Matter of Prophecy. That's bullshit. Chapter 21, A Matter of Property.
Oh, you had me.
It's very different. Chapter 22 is Out of Thin Air, and chapter 23, To Lose the Sun.
I've read all those chapters and do
Have
not
you?
remember what any of them are. I remember what happens, but I can't tell you which chapter it happens in.
Okay, well, it's one way to find
Adriana.
out, I guess.
She's in there. Her and Bale featured prominently.
Awesome. I'm glad to see them again.
Yeah.
But until we get to those chapters in our next episode, I will say to everyone, sleep well and wake.
Farewell.
Adios.